Hey everybody, it is Romania Black, and we are on episode 5 of Arcane. Everybody wants to be my enemy. I'm pretty excited because we set up the second part really well last episode. We got to see everybody a couple years older. Viktor's not looking good. Jayce seems like he's alright. Caitlyn, she's great. She's gone to go play detective and has found Vi at the bottom of a prison. Powder is now Jinx, working with Silco, who is the most unlikely pseudo-father figure ever. And then we also have all these other characters, like, I think that's Echo, that's with the fire starters, and then we have, like, all the other characters that are still alive, Heimerdinger and all of them in the woodworks as well. So, really interesting stuff. Lots of things set up last episode that will possibly have some good payoffs. My brother is here with me, snacking on some popcorn, and we're gonna watch episode 5 here and see what old Detective Caitlyn finds out from old Vi. Like, what's she gonna figure out from all this? We'll see, right? But I am pretty excited, y'all. So we're not gonna waste any time. We're gonna dive right into this. So let's get started, shall we? We're gonna start episode 5 of Arcane here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh man. Okay. Ha! You know what? That might be my favorite episode so far. The last one was, but that one may be my favorite. This one may be my favorite now. I don't know. They get better and better. This one may be my favorite. Okay. Well, Jayce. Talk about Jayce. Talk about poor Viktor. Okay, obviously I don't want spoilers. Something has happened with the blood getting in the hex text. Something has happened. I don't want to know what it is yet. I'm just going to make note of it. And then Jinx, and yeah, she's cracked the code, supposedly. She seems like she's cracked the code. And Vi, for the record, Vi and Caitlyn are such a combo. I absolutely love them together. They are great. I don't want spoilers, don't you dare. My brother's making a face, don't you dare. I love Vi and Caitlyn. They're my faves. I love them so far. Their chemistry, Cupcake and Vi, Violet and Cupcake. I like it. So, going back in this episode, that shot there, point the camera, that shot of that leaf and everything, like, some of the animation in this it goes from being, you can tell that it's CGI and 2D mixed, which is like, there's some photorealistic shots like with that are really, really well done. And like I said in the opening, I love that we get this dynamic where it's a perfect setup of Vi and Caitlyn's relationship in this episode, of them working together, and it's mirroring Vander and Grayson working together back in the day. Like, it's such a mirror, and I like that a lot in this episode. And it's also setting up that Caitlyn's such a good shot here, so when it comes back, when she's fighting Savica later, or Savilka or whatever, you've already established she's a sharpshooter, right? But I like the idea of her questioning Grayson whether or not she let her win. Like, did my parents pay you off so I could win the trophy? And Grayson responding that she just didn't want to take the shot. She wanted to let her get the trophy, right? Like, I love that. And the bullets are all the family emblem and everything. I like it. But yeah, she hadn't pulled the trigger. Mm-hmm. I love this setting up of Caitlyn and Grayson having a dynamic. And then going back to Marcus and Grayson having the dynamic, because the coin with the blood on it was from when Grayson died, right? He picked that up off the ground when Grayson died, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's from when Grayson died. He picked up the coin because it was like, oh, here's your money and everything. That was a fake out. I really thought he pulled the trigger on the grenade and blew himself up. I thought he had, and I was like, oh, crap, Silco's dead. But nope, he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. And he has a kid? And that gets established, this kid that looks nothing like him? Interesting. There's a lot of parent-child dynamics in this episode. Like, you have, obviously, Grayson and Caitlyn have, like, a parental-child dynamic. And then you have Silco with Jinx. You have Marcus with his daughter. You've got, those are the 3 main ones. And then you have Vi, like, going back to the underground after Vander's died and seeing how it's all kind of gone to ruin. Like, it's really interesting. But yeah, I love that opening scene. and the fact of them like in the mist looking around. And then then we cut to the prison. Like I said, this show has some great transitions. There were like 4 or 5 animation transitions in this episode. I was like, that was perfect. That was great. And then Vi, it's Aladdin and Princess Jasmine. It's like Vi is Aladdin, the street smart kid that knows his way around Agrabah, and then you have Caitlyn, who's like the princess, the royal family member that just wants to get out and be her own person. But yeah, and then of course Vi wants to find Powder. And I don't know how I feel about Silco does the whole baptism thing, like the baptism in the lake sort of thing. And Silco is comparing Jinx too much to himself, I feel.
It's not really trying to compare them. He's trying to... She's too scared of the past.
Yeah.
And he's giving her a way to pretty much just throw Powder and all those fears, get rid of them.
Yeah, but I feel like he's likening Powder too much to himself. And he's like, well, just like I did it, you can do it too. And it's like, yeah, but there is a difference. Because Powder was a kid when all this went down. And Silco was an adult. And I think that there's a difference there. Like, she's still carrying all of these. She's carrying all of this stuff from a kid, like all this trauma that she endured as a child that couldn't fully understand everything. Silco was an adult. He understood what was going down between him and Vander, that betrayal. The thing with Vi and Powder is not the same thing. I feel like he wants her to think it's the same thing, that he's gone through the same thing as her, but it's different. And I don't know. I feel like she's not going to be on his level like he wants her to be. But I don't know. It's very interesting. And again, it's still kind of creepy. Still, the whole thing with the baptism was kind of creepy. A little bit. I don't know. I like that she gets, Caitlyn here gets Vi from the guard, like, on his first day as counselor. She's like, yeah, he's gave me the release. And there's like, I didn't even know this was a counselor. And she's like, oh, it's his first day. That's so good. And yeah, gets her out of jail. So yeah, we have Polar. Marcus is an interesting character. I think we're getting more and more with Marcus, and I'm starting to like his character a little more because we get more depth with him. Like, he's been doing all these underhanded deals with Silco in the underground, and it's now cost him 6 people because Jinx went rogue. And I want kind of Marcus to do the right thing and to kind of turn on Silco, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not, or if he's going to die in the process. He's got his daughter with him, and he has like all the drawings and stuff from her. I'm assuming, and this is Grayson's grave that he's at. Interesting. Yeah, it's crazy. The fact that he has a kid is wild. It kind of makes sense though, because she's probably 7 or 8, and it's not been that many years. So it kind of makes sense now why he acted the way he did 4 or 5 years ago, because if he had a kid, he didn't want to die and leave his kid alone or with her mom or wherever. We haven't seen the wife or anything, but it makes sense now why maybe he was trying to be more cautious and save himself back then, because he wanted to be with his kid. That makes a lot more sense. And then this scene, I realized at this point I didn't have subtitles on, and I was like, oh crud, I need to go back and put those on. And so they're trying to basically put this all on the firelights, right?
Yeah.
To use them as a scapegoat. To say, oh, it's all their fault. The council just has to have a culprit, and we'll make them the culprit.
Kind of like what Vander tried to do back then. He tried to make himself the culprit.
Mm-hmm. And so this time Silco's just pushing it off on them and saying, yeah, no, it was these guys. You guys have evidence, right? So just use that, and then we won't have to have any problems. We can still do what we've always been doing.
Because they already have eyewitnesses of the firelights attacking.
Exactly, so it wouldn't be hard to pin it on them.
All they need is one physical piece.
And he even gives the gold there. He's like, all the underhanded corrupt money, he's like, give this to the families as compensation, and this will solve our problems, right? And Marcus is clearly not happy about that. I really thought it was a nail clipper that he used to cut the cigar, and I was like, oh no, that's not it at all. Never mind. Nope. So yeah, again, that transition to the Hex Gate. So, Jayce!
Second day on the job, and already he's shutting down multiple trades.
That Jayce is, bless his heart, he
wants to do the right thing,
but he's so easily manipulated, so easily. Like he goes in, and when he was doing all this stuff with Marcus, I was like, man, this is your second day on the job. And it was funny in the moment. You're like, oh, it's his second day on the job. But when you think about it, you're like, yeah, he's instantly wanting to shut down all the corruption, but this corruption has been in place for like so long that it's kind of like Mel says, you know, it's not right, it's corruption, but at the same time, they're like little things like the illegal imports and stuff that these people have gotten accustomed to. And so she's like, by you just instantly shutting it all down, yeah, it's the right thing to do, but you're making yourself a target because they don't view it as something bad. They view it as like a little minor. They're like, oh, it's an illegal liquor, but is it really hurting anybody? Like, they don't see it as a big thing. So Jayce shutting it down, Mel's like, they're going to kick you and your family out before you've even gotten started because you're focusing on the wrong things is what Mel's trying to say.
The whole thing plays to he's not a politician.
No.
He's a scientist. And if you're a scientist and you see a problem with the experiment, you fix that problem immediately.
That's a good comparison, yeah.
As a politician, though, you try to look for a way to exploit that problem.
Right. And so I don't like Mel. I don't like her character, especially after this episode. And it's not just because I want to ship Jayce and Viktor together. It's not just because of that. I can take our bisexual King Jayce. I can take it. But she's using him, like deliberately using him. She is just like, and she admits it to her friend. She's like, oh, we can use him and he's naive and he's innocent. He's not a politician. He'll eat out of the palm of our hands. And she's like, I'll just use him however I want to. Yeah, I don't like her. After this episode, I was like, and I was like, the moment they were in the opera house, and he was like going from person to person, shaking their hands, and she was telling her friend, she's like, oh, he's exceeded expectations and he'll do whatever he wants. He's just a pawn to her. And I'm like, girl, And I feel so bad for Viktor in this episode, because Viktor's trying to be the scientist and do all the science, because he's desperate. He's like, I'm on borrowed time. And I feel so bad for him. And I kind of get a little frustrated with Jayce in this, because I'm like, dude, your friend is like, when he was bleeding on the banister, I'm like, you couldn't look down and see the blood and be like, hey, how'd this get here? Maybe my friend's bleeding out. Yeah, I'm like, dude, the writing's on the wall. I'm so sad for Viktor. I want him to be okay. And they don't say how long he has left. I'm like...
Then we get to this part where he's suffering from the illness, but at the same time, he's starting to see a pattern that they never saw before.
Yeah, there's something there, and he's noticing it. And that's what he tried to do with the technology and everything. And then the blood got mixed in with it. And I don't want to be spoiled about what that means, but... something's going on, but yeah, like it's on the banister, and he couldn't.
It's dark, and you got shadows coming up.
Bullshit! I'm gonna call bullshit on that. He could have looked down. So, Jinx, old Jinx, girl is interesting. She's like she's like a prodigy. She's really, really smart. And even though she doesn't understand the mathy magic-y gateway, even though she doesn't quite understand it, she's figuring it out.
She understands that the runes are the key.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You just got to find a way to the right rune combinations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's figuring it out, but I feel for her in that she's still just a kid. Like this episode and the last episode, she's older, and yeah, she's technically older, but like emotionally and mentally, she's still a kid. She's like stuck in that traumatic past. And Silco's trying to get her out of it, but I'm like, dude... This is, again, that happened when she was a kid. It's a totally different experience than you. And it's like Silco is trying to project himself onto her. It's like the parent that played basketball and wants their kid to play basketball like they did. And so they try to like make the kid's life mirror their own. That's how I feel Silco and Jinx's relationship is. He wants her to basically be like him. And I'm like, she's not. So it's very frustrating.
Well, at the same time, he's never been a parent before. There's
right.
The old man.
Oh yeah. And so again, Vi and Caitlyn, love it. Love the whole scene of her going back down into the underground, and the old man got on the transport, and he gets there before she does. It's great. But this whole sequence of her going back to the underground and like just weaving in and out, parkouring it down there, like knows where to go, and Caitlyn's like towing on her high heel boots. It's probably one of my favorite sequences in the whole show so far. The way that the choreography is done, the tension, the animation, like it's so... Like, freaking Vi is like MMA Mikasa fighter from Attack on Titan, like girls. And this shot of her jumping and the mural of the woman with the big black hairdo and the flower, it's gorgeous. It's probably my favorite sequences in the whole series so far. It's just so freaking good. And the voice acting, I really like Vi's voice actress. She does a really good job. It's so good.
There's also the part of she's been in prison all this time. When she says that's how people down here travel, she's not used to the idea that they've created all those stairways and stuff.
Oh, yeah. So she's been in prison long enough. She's not known how the tech's advanced.
The best thing they had back then was that huge ass elevator.
That's right. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That she's a little behind on the times. Even now, when they met, yeah, and then the old man shows up. When she met the woman in the like brothel place where all the secrets are shared, when she was there, and I like the red jacket, looks good on her. I felt like the woman was going to betray her, like sell her out to Silco, but I guess she didn't. I mean, obviously, we haven't seen where that ends up going, but.
Well, she doesn't need to.
Right, she doesn't need to, but you can tell she's kind of sad. She's like, you're going to find your answers, but you're not going to like it.
Well, obviously, some of those people didn't like the fact that Silco came back and took over. But,
oh, yeah.
But at the same time, what are you going to do? He's got the shimmer. He's got those creatures. Mm-hmm. He's got the money. Anybody down there that was even the least bit interested in money would want the money. Oh, anybody who'd want to fight, they'd have to fight those shimmer creatures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he just took over out of force, and they really can't do anything about it. And there's so many people that are like junkies on the shimmer now and stuff that they're not going to oppose him. So, yeah, it's just created a system down there, and there's not really much they can do about it. But I love when Jayce asks, he's like, are you sure this experimentation is safe? And Viktor's like, of course it's not. But he doesn't care. He doesn't have as much time. He's like, I can't afford to be safe right now. I want to make note that Heimerdinger's absence in this episode was really pronounced, except you see him in the opera, like, he's unknowing. He doesn't know any of this is going on. And so, that we know of.
He's enjoying the life as it is.
Yeah, but he doesn't get what's going on with Jayce and them. And I was like, Heimerdinger would be so disappointed in you. Like, selling yourself out, Jayce. I love this. It reminds me of the scene of Caitlyn and Vi down at the diner for this guy. It reminds me of Blade Runner, like the green tones and everything. It reminds me when they're in that food stand in the rain in Blade Runner. It's very, very cool. I like it a lot. And I like how the guy making the food seems so nice, and he looks over to Caitlyn like, you want some? And she just totally ignores him. I'm like, girl, rude. Yeah, like he's just so happy about it. And she's just like, no. And I like this scene too because Vi proves to Caitlyn, like, this is how we do things underground. Like, you want information, you can't just go asking people. Like, she gave that guy her patronage at the restaurant, and he gave her the piece of info that she needed. And it's like, that's how they exchange things underground. And it's like, okay. Like, teaching Caitlyn how things are different than they are in Piltover. But yeah, this whole operatic scene here, this whole opera scene, again, Mel, like her just trying to seduce him and get him on her side, and explaining how each person works with the other. Yeah, the whole council's corrupt. They're all corrupt, but it's, what are you going to do? Are you going to take them all on and just get booted out of the system, or what are you going to do? I'm hoping that Jayce wises up to all this and uses, because Jayce has for him, he's young, he's handsome, he's charismatic. He has like all the things that would woo nobility, right? And he is a scientist. He is smart. So I'm hoping he figures out the system and then uses that to his advantage. Like, Mel has started him on the politician system, and I hope he figures out how to play it. And it's like, but dude. And I love this violin solo, like, just representing everything.
It's more like he's like a one-man band down there in the middle of the play without any singers. He's being forced to do the choreography, the music.
Yeah, I love the strings being the rain. Like, it's great. And then we go back to the arcade with her. And I love the visual of this is that no matter what Powder does, no matter how she fights, she's still in second place.
Because you can tell Vi back then was only boxing.
Yeah.
And Jinx, she's throwing in kicks. She's throwing in low blows, I think, a few times. But she never gets that high point, which was the last time Vi played that.
Yeah.
Being that even now, she's below where Vi was when she left her. Yep,
she's still below her. And the fact that she shot the bird, I think that speaks a lot for Powder, and that the bird didn't do anything, but she still shot it. Like, there's that childlike mentality, because like an adult that knows morally when to take a shot and what's right and wrong, probably wouldn't have shot the bird. Like, Buyer Vander would not have shot the bird. But she still has that kid-like, I'm just going to do what I want. And there doesn't, the consequence of it, and she shoots the bird. And it's like,
yeah, but if this is Runeterra, you see a crow or a raven, you better shoot it.
Well, I don't know these things. I don't want to know spoilers. I don't know these things. So I just see that it's like a childish act. You see a bird and you shoot at it, and it's like the bird didn't do anything, but that's just like her showing she's not afraid to hurt something, that she doesn't get, that she's not afraid to hurt it. That's my point. And then, yeah, I love this montage of her and Vi, like, synchronized, showing them playing the boxing game, and then going back to Powder's childhood, and that she's still stuck in that same state. Mm-hmm. And she's still right below her sister. Like, how many was she? She was at 440.06 to like 4,800. Like, still way under it. It's the visuals. It's so good. And then she just shoots the machine. She's like, screw it. And it transitions to the last drop. I love it. And so I was trying to see what she saw here. She saw that there were people getting thrown out when before they were always welcomed. Oh, that's what that is. Okay, I was like, what?
There are bouncers in front of there.
Oh, in front of the last drop. Okay.
Yeah. Before, Vander would keep it open and everybody would be able to come in, sit, have a drink, talk their problems, and Vander would be there to make sure nothing happened to them.
Gotcha. And that's why she got mad at Caitlyn, because Caitlyn's like, oh, that looks like a place where there'd be bodies buried in the basement. And Vi was like, you have no clue. Like, that's...
Well,
yeah,
she's never heard of the last drop.
Right, so that's what I mean. Like, she has no clue. She
didn't
doesn't
even know it when Vander was in charge.
Right, she's assuming something, and Vi's like, you don't know the history of the past behind it, and that's why she gets mad. But yeah, Mel, bleh. I'm like, what a snake. Winch, heartless winch. And so yeah, then they go in here, and I'm like, oh girl. When she's like, how am I going to buy us time while you get info? And she's like, well, easy. You're going to act like one of these courtesans. And Caitlyn's like, excuse me? Why me? And they're like, because you're hot, Cupcake. I'm like, And Caitlyn is like, I'm good at doing my job. So if I have to seduce people, fine. I'll do it. Yeah. I noticed that too with the mask. I was like, oh my God. I didn't think we would get that adult in this show. I did not think we would have like a full-on like sex scene with Jayce and Mel. Like, okay, we're doing this.
What do you expect after we just saw two characters go to a bordello?
I guess. I'm just like, I wasn't expecting. And I love that Vi does like the Kabedon thing with Caitlyn. She's like, come on. Like, I love it. And this one says his name is Pim. I'm Pim. And Vi's like, you'll do. And this is Matilda. I love it. I just love their dynamic. I love their interactions. And I love that Caitlyn puts on a Cockney accent to make herself sound like she's like from a different class. It's like, oh my God. It's a great times.
Well, what would you expect from somebody who's speaking posh down in a bordello?
I know, right? And then, yeah, so here's the thing. Yeah, Silco... I'm curious. I don't want to be spoiled. Don't spoil me, but I am curious. I am thinking about this in the back of my head. Why Silco doesn't trust the Doctor with the technology, and I don't want to be spoiled, but I think it's curious that he doesn't trust the Doctor, who is like the one making the shimmer and other stuff, and he wants Jinx to do it. It's
not not trusting the Doctor. It's just that he's showing trust to Jinx.
So he wants her to do it because he wants her to get involved in all of this. Okay.
He's basically saying that you're the only person I can trust with this.
Right. Which I think that is curious because the Doctor seemed competent before.
Competent, but you also have to remember the Doctor's old.
Yeah, time has passed, so interesting.
If they want to get it done quickly, they need somebody who is able to learn quickly, who's been able to who can move out of the way quickly if it's something dangerous.
If it messes up, that's true.
They don't, with the old man, he's basically cautious with testing the serums and stuff. He doesn't need cautious. He needs Jinx. He needs somebody who can be a little bit reckless when it needs to.
And experiment. And I also thought, too, that maybe he's also giving it to her to keep her out of the way from going rogue and going uptown and doing... It's
kind of giving her something to do.
Yeah, it's a double dipping. He trusts her because he knows she'll experiment, but also it's keeping her busy with something so she's not going above ground and causing havoc. He's like, you need something to like tinker with. You need a fidget spinner. So here's a gemstone you can make a fidget spinner out of. Go for it.
Here's like basically a nuke. Use it as a fidget spinner.
Yeah, seems legit. Seems like something I would do on a daily basis. Yeah. And yeah, he just tries to push that ideology. He's like, fear haunts us all. And I'm like, yeah, it does. But again, I don't think she's quite like you, Silco. A little bit different. But yeah, and I love that Vi gets out of there.
That's also the same woman from before.
It is.
Winked at Milo.
It was. Tiger. That's true. I thought it was for a second when they came in, but I wasn't sure. And then yeah,
she's making small talk with the
other ladies. And Vi's like, oh, okay, well, sure thing. Gotcha. And then yeah, this whole thing with Jayce and her. And, okay, so this line about the Medarda that she says, yeah, she says the Medarda people are usually the ones that take from the world. We're not really givers. Interesting. And Jayce is like, oh, really? We're doing this right here, right now? And she's like, mm-hmm. And it's so crazy that it's juxtaposed with Viktor. Like, Viktor's trying to do the sciencey thing, and Jayce, you're screwing it up. Like, Viktor...
Sigma male.
No, Viktor's doing the thing for, like, science, and... And then, yeah, poor... God, I feel bad for Viktor. I do. And so, yeah, we go back to the waters, and when Jinx says he's told her this a million times... It's like he constantly... Like, Silco can't let go of the past in Viktor. Silco can't move on either. Like, he keeps going back to the same thing. It's like, Vander's dead. Like,
well, you also have to remember that Vander kept telling Vi a whole bunch of things repeatedly.
Well, yeah, but I'm just making a note that it's... That when Jinx brings up, she's like, you keep going on and on about this. And so he's talking about, like, being reborn. He wants her to do the same thing. And Jinx is like, okay. It's interesting. And then, yeah, we go back to... And, of course, we have to have Imagine Dragons, like, cameo as characters. Like, sure, okay. I do like, though, that Jayce, like, totally left Mel. He was like, peace out. I gotta go with my besties in the hospital. See ya. And she's like, what? He's like, yeah, sorry. And we cut from that to poor Jayce. Poor Jayce and Viktor. Ugh. So, yeah, they don't say how long he has left. I hate it. I hate it. Nope. Not having it. Quit mucking about, Jayce. Your bestie is in trouble. So yeah, we got that, and then we have Civilca versus Vi. And she like stabbed her in the gut, so I'm like, girl, you need to get some attention on that.
We have to see. You also have to see that arm is able to slowly inject small portions of shimmer into her.
Yeah, it is.
A good countermeasure to not becoming a monster, but at the same time, giving you that little bit of extra strength and speed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just like, it's kind of like Silco's like thing that he injects in his eye. It's the same property that it injects it in there. And then I love that. I was waiting for it. I was like, as soon as Vi started getting beat up, I'm like, Caitlyn's we haven't seen Caitlyn in a while. She's going to be the one to rescue her. And I love that it's her being a sharpshooter. I love that that's how she does it. I absolutely love that. And I love the way that her gun folds up like that. It's great. It's wonderful. And then, yeah, like, get her out of there. And the fact that Silco knows that she's back now. That was the perfect way to end it. Calling her Cupcake. So yeah, because he told Civilca if she came back and she'd failed again, he was going to be really pissed off at her. And she shows back up a mess, and he's telling her she makes a mess, and he's like, the sister's back. Because that's the one thing.
He was also told that that Vi was gone.
Oh, I'm sure Marcus told her that she was dead. Oh, so Marcus lied. Oh, oh, that's not good. Okay, all right, that makes more sense now. Because when we said back from the dead, I'm like, well, did you know she was in prison? But he thought she was like dead. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's even better.
So not only has Civilca there messed up, but Marcus has fucked up.
They're just not doing what he asked. He's like, I gave you specific instructions and you couldn't even follow it.
It's like Jinx is the only one among you who listens.
And she's got lots of issues. Yeah, Savika's her name. But yeah, and while all this is going on, Jinx is unlocking the technology, and then right as she unlocks it, that's when like, she's back. And I love his face from the dead. Oh, I love it. Yes. That's so good. So yeah. Oh. So we have Marcus is having this crisis of identity, and what does he do? Does he play the hero and do what's right, or does he keep going along to play it safe? Does he play it safe or play it right? That's the question with Marcus. What does he do there? Vi and Caitlyn are still trying to find powder and find answers. Jinx is unlocking this technology. Silco's pissed because he's found out Marcus has lied, and that she's back, that Vi is back underground. Viktor could be dying. Jayce has made all these corrupt deals behind Heimerdinger's back and has, like, had an affair with Mel and all this stuff. Mel thinks she's got Jayce in the palm of her hand. Heimerdinger knows nothing about this. There's corruption everywhere. It's all just setting things up to be perfectly fine. Nothing will happen. There will be nothing of consequence come from anything in this episode, and everything will work out perfectly. I wish y'all could see his face. It's just fine. Everything's great.
You, me, and about 1 million people behind me going face
bombing. No, it's kind of like the last act. You know, episode 2 set up everything was going to be perfectly. This will not blow up in any way, shape, or form. I'm really curious to know what y'all think down below in the comments, but I think this might be my favorite episode so far. I've said that since episode 3, but they just get better and better, and I love everything that's happening in this episode. I still like episode 3 a lot. Like, episode 3 was a great conclusion to Act 1. It was really climactic. It built up all the action and intensity and the emotion, and then had a great payoff. But this has done such a cool job of building these characters into certain positions and setting the pieces on the board all over again. So, fun times. But yeah, anything else you can think of with this? Any Easter eggs that are non-spoilery?
Nah, I'm just gonna wait.
Yeah, that's right. You're like, I'm just gonna wait for it to pay off.
I've heard what you savages have said in the comments.
No, I haven't. You actually haven't looked in the comments, have you?
No.
No, I have not. They've actually been really nice. Nobody said anything bad.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody said anything bad. Everybody's been very nice. So, yeah, no, nothing bad has been said. That's funny. So, yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this reaction. Please leave a comment down below. But yeah, so holy cow, next episode is going to be the end of Act 2. It's going to be the end of Act 2. Oh God, already. Crap. Okay.
End of Act 2, setting up for Act 3.
Yeah, setting up for the final act. Usually in a 3-act structure, your second act ends with everybody in the worst possible place it could be. He just like had a drink. He literally has a drink in his hand, and he's like. So we'll see. Usually Act 2 ends with everybody at their worst point. So, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we didn't see Echo at all. That's the last thing I was going to mention. We didn't see Echo at all. We technically haven't seen Echo this second act, but I think he's one of the firelights. We haven't seen him yet, though. So. Curious. He wasn't there at all this episode. None of the firelights were. They were only there in mention. So that's curious. But yeah, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Thank you all so much for watching with us. But in the meantime, please stay safe, take care, and yeah, next week we'll be back with episode 6 of Arcane. Bye.